All right, a little reaction to all this from Kayleigh McEnany, who joins us from Washington. Kayleigh is now the Trump 2020 campaign's national press secretary. I think Edward kind of teed us up on the issues on the other side. I want to get the Trump campaign's reaction to a number of them, including health care. First of all, the first item he mentioned, though, were the accusations now that have surfaced against the former Vice President Joe Biden. Does the Trump campaign have any thoughts or comments, reaction to any of that in the last few days?
Well, I think I would echo several of the Democratic 2020 contenders in saying that it's up to Joe Biden whether he enters the race. I'll also echo Kellyanne Conway in saying he has a real problem on his hands because he calls it hugging, but his party calls it inappropriate. So our reaction mirrors that of the White House.
All right. Well, like you said, we don't even know whether the former vice president will enter the race, but many of the candidates who spoke at this event today are already in the race. So let me talk to you about some of those issues. Healthcare is interesting, right, as a political issue, because as Edward says, all of these candidates, or most of them, are hitting at something akin to Medicare for all, or just a lot of government involvement, socialized medicine, whatever. There's a lot of moving more and more to the left. Now, the president has brought up healthcare, and many questioned him and said, boy, why are you going to this issue, Mr. President, when the Democrats did well with it in the midterms last time around? That's kind of been their issue. But apparently he thinks, no, I can make it my issue. Explain. Right. And even the 2020 Democrat contenders seem to be distancing themselves from Obamacare. Which of them is out there saying Obamacare solved the problem? None of them. They're all saying Obamacare had a lot of issues. So what we need is a government takeover of health care. The president knows that when we drill down into this, Obamacare's raised prices. What the Democrats want to do is eliminate choice and eliminate private insurance that would affect 136 million Americans. So President Trump has opened choice, expanded the market, allowed short-term plans, and for the first time in 11 years, or I think it's just over 9 years, right, we're seeing Obamacare premiums level out, or the prices at least not rise, and that's because of Trump and free market policies. But the political risk, Kayleigh, as you know, for the Republicans has been not talking about health care, but not having a plan of their own once the time comes. And isn't that still a risk? I don't think it's a risk because President Trump, he said last week that the Republican Party is going to become the party of health care. We did have a plan. Fortunately, it was one vote shy, and that was Graham Cassidy, which empowered the states. We'll see where the White House goes next. But the answer is free market solutions. The answer is driving down costs and providing more choice for consumers, not less. So the White House is going to have a plan that they're going to work on. And I think President Trump is right that we will become the party of health care. All right, one more. Immigration. Obviously, it's been a big issue for the president. It is played very well politically with his base, and I'm sure continues to do so. Threatening to close down the border, though, between the United States and Mexico, is that going too far? The economic estimates that are out there say, boy, that could be, especially from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, could be kind of a disaster economically if it came to that. No, it's not too much. And here's why. When Obama's Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson says we have a crisis on our border, this is an area of bipartisan agreement. We must do something. And the president is the only one working on this, the only one saying I'll have an emergency declaration to build the wall. I'll do what needs to be done because it's unacceptable that 4,000 illegal immigrants crossed our border or attempted to in one day last week, and 1 million will do so this year alone, according to estimates. It's a national security crisis and a humanitarian one, and we've got to do whatever it takes to solve it. All right. It's always good to see you, Kayleigh McEnany from Good to see you, Connell. Okay. Thanks, Kayleigh.